So David, what do you think of the script? I mean, this is really why we brought you in here, to hire you to direct Suicide Squad and see what you thought of the script. Yeah, it sounds great, but there's just a couple of questions with the script that I had. Just a few things just to clarify on. Sure. You never really explained in the script who Suicide Squad is. It's a team of villains. Why would the government send a team of villains to help the government? Isn't that a little odd? Shouldn't they send actual good guys to help the government? Well, it's because now that Superman died and Batman's off somewhere fighting Justice League, we need a group to be ready, on the go, in case someone else like Superman comes to Earth, but instead of being peaceful, he wants to destroy civilization. So then they have superpowers like Superman. One guy is a boomerang. Oh, okay. Let me clear this up here. Continue. It's okay. Continue. So, how exactly can someone fight a superpower metahuman like with Zod with absolutely zero superpowers with a boomerang and a bat? How's that going to work? And in a script, it's actually a supernatural entity. It's a boomerang. Okay. Come on, I mean, we're studio executives. Warner Brothers, we've been making movies for over 75 years. I think we know what we're doing. Suicide Squad. So guys, we saw Suicide Squad the day it opened, and we've been holding off with this video because we really wanted to let it sink in a little bit more. In fact, we even saw it twice because, sometimes you see it the second time and it's better than the first time. And the best way we can really describe this movie and how we felt when we saw it was frustrating. Yeah, we just felt frustrated by it. Now, to be fair, we love the premises. It has strong premises, fantastic characters, and there was a lot that could have been done with this movie, but it's like, this is all we got? Seriously? A supervillain surrounding himself in a tornado of rocks with blue light beams shining in the sky? I'm not sure what to make of this. The villain just felt so generic, and above all, how can these people who really have no superpowers whatsoever go up against a supernatural being or god? And in the comics, even metahumans can't go up against Enchantress or other supernatural beings or forces. Superman isn't even immune to them. They have to call another type of superhero who has the same abilities of the supernatural forces that they have to go up against. So what in the world is a girl with a bat and a guy with a boomerang going to do? No, seriously, I'm asking. What is a girl with a bat and a guy with a boomerang and another guy that can shoot good can do up against a supernatural being, a supernatural god? And one thing that bothered us was how they presented the Joker, this new Joker. And I'm not going to get into it because I understand it. I get it. I get what they wanted to do and who they were marketing this new Joker towards. I mean, I understand they didn't want to rehash the same Nicholson, Heath Ledger Joker, and I get that. But did I want it? Not really. I just didn't find him very scary or intimidating. The main thing about what makes the Joker so great is he is completely unpredictable. And I honestly just didn't feel that way about this Joker. And really, seriously, his smile is a tattoo on his hand that he puts up to his mouth? Ooh, that really freaks me out. Batman's gonna be so terrified to go up against this insane person. I get it. I get what they were trying to do, but I just found it frustrating to me how they changed the Joker into this tattooed gangster method type villain and where they completely oversexed Harley Quinn, and they just didn't make Harley Quinn into how she is in the comics or how us as fans know her. I was looking online at other actresses that they were kind of looking at before they finally got Margot Robbie, and take a look at these. These are pictures of different actresses that they were looking at before they chose Margot Robbie. And guys, I gotta tell you, I kind of like these other actresses as Harley Quinn. And guys, I am curious to see what they are going to do with the Joker in the next installments of the movie and how far Jared Leto will take it. Specifically, if he will actually make the Joker more scary, more unpredictable and intimidating. And again, guys, I'm sure all of you have heard this too, that they actually cut out 10 minutes of Joker footage from Suicide Squad, which again, I am really interested to see what this extra footage is on the Blu-ray when the Blu-ray comes out. Because guys, let's face it, I mean, come on, the Joker is who we really wanted to see in this movie and who all of us want to see. Whenever a DC movie comes out and says there's Joker in it, we come running. But yet, he was only in the movie for what, 5 minutes? That was another frustrating thing, is that there wasn't enough Joker like how they brought out into the trailers. The trailer made it look like he was going to be one of the main villains. He just kind of popped in there like, hey, I'm here, don't forget about me. And going back to the trailer was awesome. This is how you make a trailer, and this is how most of us were when we first saw the trailer to Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad, yes.
Woo! And this is how most of us were when we saw the movie.
No, please. No, make it stop. No. God.
But yet here is this movie with some great characters. They could have really delivered us something special, something awesome. And instead, I felt like, and as many others felt too, it was just an alright movie. Sure, it had some fun parts, and it was good for what it was. But that's not what I want from a DC movie. I don't want just an alright movie. I don't want just it was a good DC movie. I want a great DC movie. I want a great, action-packed, fun, witty, but that also has the more mature dark themes that DC is known for, all intertwined into a great DC cinematic movie. That's what I want. Alright guys, I'll be honest here. This video is not about bashing Suicide Squad. What I wanted to do was really talk about the DCEU and what's happening and what can fix it, and really who's to blame for this mess. None of this matters. We all know here at Warner Brothers that we're never going to catch up to Marvel statue. I mean, they've had years, and we've just started with our superhero universe. I mean, what? We have maybe 10 years left of the superhero craze. So what we care about now is raking in the money before it's gone. We'll put together a nice trailer showcasing all the best scenes, but in the end, I'll have $500 million showing Suicide Squad is the greatest film ever made. At least we make money off disappointment, right? Am I right? I mean, let's just face it here. I mean, it can't be any worse than these guys, can it? I mean, David, come on. We here at Warner Brothers understand, and I mean, do you really think we are a studio run by incompetent executives who just rehash the same thing and same mistakes over and over again? And I'm not just talking about Suicide Squad, I'm talking about the whole thing. I mean, Batman vs. Superman, we all know the debacle with that. A lot of fingers point at Zack Snyder. Then others say it's DC, while others say it's Warner Brothers. Take Batman vs. Superman, for example. Here is one of the most iconic comics legends of all time. And it should have been the king of kings of comic book movies. It should have been just an amazing movie. And instead, this is what we got.
Save Martha!
There's a podcast out there I heard a while ago from Listen to This Podcast. And he talked about this very thing about what Warner Brothers or DC has to do to finally bring back DC movies to where we want them to be. I have an audio clip here. Take a listen.
I think if Warner Brothers would step back, allow these directors to direct these movies, make them the way that they see the vision of these films, that's their recipe. they are too much in control of these films, and they're not allowing these directors and producers and executive producers and actors to do these movies the way that they should be done. We would have so much better stories, and they would see a huge success at the box office, even more than what they have right now.
And yeah, guys, you really can't argue with that, and I completely agree. And also, one of the biggest problems is Warner Brothers and DC saw how Marvel just completely blew up and completely dominated the market. They saw this, and so they panicked, and they wanted to get on this before it was too late, and they missed the comic book superhero movie train. As an example, we all know what it's like when we have a job and an assignment to finish with a deadline. The longer we hold off from the deadline, the harder it gets to get the job done. And what do we do when we get closer to the deadline? We hurry, we panic, we hurry everything along, and then what happens? Well, the work sometimes suffers because of it. It may not have been as good as it was if you just took your time from the beginning to make it through the deadline. So instead of taking our time, we rush, and it may not hold up to quality standards. This is essentially what happened with Warner Brothers. They threw themselves into a rush to push these movies out that they didn't even give us as an audience or give any of the fans time to breathe, time to get to know or have an emotional connection with each of these characters, with the storyline, with these movies. Marvel has also really listened to what the fans want. They heard us, and they changed and fixed what didn't work in previous movies and changed it to what does work in their newer movies. Warner Brothers just doesn't seem to want to do this, I guess. Now guys, I'm not just a Marvel fanboy, I'm not just a DC fanboy. I like them all. I like them both. I like DC just as much as I like Marvel. I like Marvel just as much as I like DC. I'm just pointing out facts here between how Marvel has done their cinematic universe compared to how Warner Brothers is doing their cinematic universe. It doesn't matter how many times or how well we know these characters. As a cinematic experience, you need to identify with them, and most importantly, on a storyline, on an emotional level. Otherwise, you just get this. Did you see that? And this was also one of the biggest frustrations to me with Suicide Squad. We didn't know who these characters were. I mean, unless you're a huge DC fan and follow everything they put out, you don't know who the characters are. I've heard of them, but I don't really know them like I do Superman or Batman. And that's something I think Warner Brothers failed to acknowledge, that your general audience, even your general superhero comic book fan, doesn't really know who all these characters are. So at the last minute, I think they figured this out, and at the very last minute, they just threw these really quick flashcards of their bios really fast with all these cool special effects that gave me almost a brain aneurysm trying to read it, because they didn't give you enough time to read it. So I didn't even know still who these characters were. Now, to be fair, guys, I know Deadshot did have more of a character development than any of the others, and so did Harley Quinn. But still, it wasn't enough. It just was just quick glimpses. It was mainly just made out of montages with music over it. I was just sitting there like, okay, this guy can shoot really good. He has a great aim. He has a daughter. I guess he's going to jail. Okay. Now, I've heard time and time again, people just continually bash on Zack Snyder, calling him out, and that he ruined the DCEU, that he's a hack, that he's the worst director, worst people, comparing him to Michael Bay. And when they found out that he was executive producer of Suicide Squad, they bashed him and kicked him in the head even harder. And really, guys, given the right material, Zack Snyder is a good director. And that's the key right there. If he has the right material. Who gives and allows right material to the director? Majority of the time, it's the studio. Hiring the right writer or writers to write great material for the director and the actors. So was David Goyer the right writer for Batman vs. Superman? Well, take a look at this. So he didn't put forth all he could with this movie. Again, Warner Brothers hired him to write this material. Now, going back to Zack Snyder, I do believe that Warner Brothers gave way too much freedom to Snyder. They just kind of handed him the keys to the kingdom and said, here you go, run free. But now check this out, what Zack Snyder said about Batman. Why would you trust someone who says that he would have Batman get raped in prison if he directed a Batman movie? Let's get Batman raped in prison. That's like me applying for a job at a grocery store and the manager asks me, so are you able to put these products on the shelf in a certain period of time before the store opens? Well, yeah, I can, but I don't know. I may rape a product. So yeah, guys, that was a fault on Warner Brothers. That's on Warner Brothers' head. That's why Batman vs. Superman turned out so dark and not just blah, yeah. Honestly, guys, DC really has nothing to do with this. Warner Brothers owns DC property, and it's really up to Warner Brothers to have the right plan, the right ideas, the right directors, which I think is another big problem, choosing the right director for these movies. Was David Ayer someone who has no experience in a high-budget, full-on CGI superhero fight fest movie and who doesn't really know any of these characters or understands the format really the right choice to direct Suicide Squad? For a movie like this, you have to choose somebody that understands the material, who respects the material and respects the fans. Again, this is something that Marvel learned. Marvel learned early on. You have to get the right director that respects and knows the material. Some of the movies didn't work, some of them did, but they learned from those past mistakes and their next movies turn out better and better and better. Warner Brothers, again, just isn't doing this. They just think, you know what, I'm going to throw $150, $160 million at this movie. It's going to make its money back, so that's all I care about. And now I want to talk about all the various edits we see in these movies. We all know the debacle of the editing fiasco with Batman vs. Superman. The executives who saw Snyder's original 3-hour cut, loved it, gave it standing ovation. You can read this, it's online. They love the 3-hour cut, they gave it a standing ovation, but yet they turn around and butcher it, cut it up where the plot, where things that happen make absolutely no sense whatsoever. And everybody in the theater is sitting there like, what is this? And again, guys, this has nothing to do with DC or Zack Snyder. It's Warner Brothers' decision. It's their movie. It's their investment. They pulled the trigger and they re-edited the movies. Fortunately, Warner Brothers did release Snyder's original cut to Batman vs. Superman, but save yourself the trouble and release the original cut in the first place. Again, the director, David Ayer for Suicide Squad, presented his original cut, which is reported to be about 2 hours and 30 minutes, to executives. Executive praised it, said it was a great movie, fantastic movie. People I know that have seen the David Ayer's cut said that it's a magnificent film and they praised it. But yet they turned around again and do the exact same mistake that they did with Batman vs. Superman and re-edit the movie, water it down, trim it to 2 hours and 9 minutes? Stop the insanity! Just leave the movies alone. Trust the original cut. Why recut it? Why? It makes no sense. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Now, I've heard a lot of people on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and in other YouTube videos saying, you know what, screw DC, screw Warner Brothers, I'm done, I'm out of here. I'm just out of here. I can't take this anymore. These movies are awful. They're never going to get anywhere. It's just a bunch of, Warner Brothers needs to die. No, guys, I'm not one of those people. And that's because I know there is so much more potential for these movies. And now with Johns and Affleck a lot more involved in the movies rather than just solely Zack Snyder, and not giving Zack Snyder as much freedom as he had originally, I really do think that we're going to see a change in the DCEU and in Warner Brothers. I also do think that Warner Brothers is starting to listen to us and its fans. Unfortunately though, I think Warner Brothers is just too set on trying to control these movies right now. So guys, the main point of this video I wanted to make was stop blaming and bashing on those who really don't have any power or any money to control these movies. Unlike a studio like Warner Brothers, who does have the power, who does have the money to control these movies. So put the blame in its proper place. Well guys, as many of you know, this is a video that has been long in the making. I've been trying to get this video out for so long, but just one thing after another just prevented me from doing so. And I've been doing a lot of research on this, a ton of research on this, so I make sure all my facts are legitimate, and to know that I'm not the only one that feels like this, but there's a lot of you out there that feels the same way as I do. But now guys, I want to hand the video over to you. What are your thoughts on DCEU? What are your thoughts on Suicide Squad, on Batman vs. Superman, on the entire thing? Where do you think the blame is of the DCEU cinematic universe, and what do you think can correct it? So let me know. I'd really be interested in seeing your comments. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, definitely subscribe now so you don't miss out on any other new content or videos that we have coming up, especially our monthly giveaway. So subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button down below, and please leave your comments. Let me know what you thought of Suicide Squad, what your thoughts are of the DCEU. I would love to hear all your comments. As always guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the future.